Hello, and welcome to Help My Daughter Loves Horses. I'm Allie, and I'm here to help you enjoy horses in a fun, safe way. And because I was having a few technical difficulties getting my jumping video posted, and I may have promised that video a month ago or so, I have put together a few pictures of me jumping so we can talk about what it takes to have a good jumping seat. So hopefully this will get you started, and the other video is coming soon. I promise I really am going to get on it. So enjoy! So the first goal of a jumping seat is to get your butt out of the saddle. And you want to do this to allow your horse to stretch and round over an obstacle. If you stayed tight on his back, he would have a lot more trouble moving and making that nice arch that allows him to cleanly clear any jump you ask of him. The second goal of a jumping seat is to make sure that your center of gravity stays over that of the horse. So you'll notice that because the jumping seat is much more forward, your center of gravity shifts forward to stay over your horse's girth area, and that's where his center of gravity is as well. So I've added little dots just to make it extra clear that your center of gravity is above your horse's center of gravity. Now, just to review, the reason that this is so important is that if you are ahead of your horse's natural balance point, you will put extra weight on his shoulders, making it very hard for him to lift up his front end and jump. And if you were behind your horse's balance point, then you are going to be putting pressure behind him, making it hard then for his hind end to come up over the second half of that jump. I want to show you another reason that you don't want to get left behind when your horse jumps. Let's say instead of my hips being here where they're supposed to, I hadn't moved forward as Noah jumped, and they had shifted back to where that purple dot is back there. Now, if my hips shift back, because I don't stay up with Noah's motion, the whole rest of my body shifts back, and that includes my hands. So my hands would actually come back with the rest of my body as everything else falls behind Noah's motion. This is bad because in a perfect world, my hands should go forward as Noah jumps. And this is because if they don't go forward as Noah jumps, I'm going to be putting extra pressure on the bit that I don't mean to be giving him. I'm asking him to move forward and move big and jump for me. And if I'm yanking back on his bit, I'm telling him, actually, wait, no, stop. And that's a great way to teach your horse to refuse jumps. Okay, so if your goal is to make sure your hands move forward as your horse jumps so that you release pressure on the bit, how are you going to do that? That's why I've pointed to my elbow here. Your elbows are what allow you to open the rein and give your horse his head, or take up the rein and keep in contact with him. So you'll notice that here, I still have contact on the reins, but I am not pulling. I just have a feel of Noah's mouth so that we can communicate. And that is because I have bent my elbows to the right distance where I can maintain just a feel of his mouth without pulling. I added a picture here of Noah coming down off a jump, and you can see how my elbows have straightened out to give Noah the rein he needs as his head moves forward and stretches to come into the landing on this jump. And by doing this, you'll notice that again, I'm not putting any excess pressure on Noah's bit. I've got the lightest feel of it. There's no loop in my reins. There's no slack, but I'm not yanking back on his mouth. I'm letting him move forward, stretch out, and take the room that he needs to successfully clear this jump. Now, even though you've got much shorter stirrups in jumping than you do in, say, dressage, you'll notice that still your heel stays in line with your hips. And this is important because not only does it help you stay in balance, but your knee and ankle act as your shock absorber. And you can imagine how much more bounce you've got going over a jump than you do in just dressage. Now, the main thing that changes from riding up to a jump to actually going over a jump is the angle between your thighs and your core. And I've put a little arrow here to show that distance. And what happens is that as your horse's front end lifts off the ground, you actually collapse that distance between your back and the top of your legs. This doesn't mean you collapse your whole body, it just means that that angle closes. And then as your horse lands, that angle will open again. One of the most common faults in a jumping seat is rounding your shoulders and arching your back or curving your back forward. You want to make sure that your back stays long, straight, and solid. Because after all, since you're not stuck in the saddle, you're up out of the saddle, your back provides almost the only stability you've got. So if you're having to adjust with your arms, adjust with your seat, your back is going to be your core center point that holds you where you want to be. Also, if you round your shoulders, drop your core, you're going to be unable to respond as quickly if things change, and you also will have almost no power in your arms because you will have nowhere to pull to. So if you try to do a half hold and your back isn't nice and straight, you lose all the potential power you might have had in that half hold. So make sure you keep your back very straight even as you're bending forward at the hips. Just remember that bend comes from the hips. You're closing the angle in your hips. You're not closing that angle by rounding your back. Now, the next thing to remember is always, always, always look where you want to go. You should be looking towards your next jump or towards the next turn you have to take, and you should never, ever, ever look down. Because if you look down, guess what? You go where you look. So keep your eyes forward and look the direction you want to go. The last really common mistake, well, everybody makes, not just beginners, is not keeping your heels down. And you'll hear this over and over and over. Keep your heels down. Keep your heels down. And the thing is, you really do have to keep your heels down. Not only, as we said earlier, do they act as your shock absorbers, but they are a very key component of you staying balanced. You want your weight to actually drop through your heels as your horse lands, not jarring into his back. When you keep your heels down and loose, it's a much more comfortable ride for both you and your horse. Now, like anything else, jumping takes a lot of practice. It doesn't matter how good you are, you have to keep practicing to maintain a strong seat and to fix those little things that we all just do wrong sometimes. I've got a little video here of Noah and me coming up to a jump. And you'll notice that actually I'm fairly back. I'm touching the saddle, and it's not until Noah actually lifts up over the jump that I come forward. So I hope you enjoyed watching, and feel free to check out our website for more information. And of course, as always, drop me a comment if you've got any questions. Take care. Thanks for watching this video. Help My Daughter Loves Horses. Check out our website for more.